At the cave mouth, warm air brushes your frozen face. That feels like shelter. It may actually be a warning. Something enormous is breathing somewhere beyond the torchlight. Then, two ivory fangs slide out of the darkness. You brought meat. The cave already has an owner. Run outside, and the cold begins killing you again. Stay inside, and those fangs finish the argument. This was prehistoric real estate. Excellent roof, terrible landlord. Caves offered dry floors, steady temperatures, and defensible walls. Unfortunately, every serious predator understood the same advertisement. So humans did not simply discover caves and move in. They entered a property market settled with teeth and fire. The strange question is not why humans wanted shelter. It is how soft bodies took shelter from stronger ones. Because for much of prehistory, we were not untouchable. Bones preserve moments when the food chain pointed at us. Yet some caves record humans returning again and again across thousands of years. Sometimes people arrived after predators had already left. Sometimes people occupied only the bright front porch. Sometimes the former owner came back while dinner cooked. And at least once, humans killed a cave lion. That reversal took more than courage or one magic invention. It required clues, timing, fire, weapons, and other people working as one defensive system. Most of all, it required knowing when not to fight. Tonight we will enter one cave 12 different ways. We will read its floor like a prehistoric crime scene. We will learn why the doorway mattered more than darkness. We will test the comforting myth that fire solved everything. And we will watch the cave change its owner. First, forget the caveman. A cave is not a house. It is a climate machine. Stone slows the daily swing between heat and cold. A roof blocks rain without needing branches or labor. A narrow mouth limits directions an attacker can approach. Those advantages matter to humans, bears, hyenas, and cats. Bears could use deep chambers for seasonal hibernation. Hyenas could drag bones inward and feed pups safely. Big cats gained shade, concealment, and a protected retreat. Humans wanted warmth, sleep, storage, and a social center. One hole in a cliff could satisfy every competitor. At Rannis, the cave often belonged to carnivores first, between roughly 55,000 and 40,000 years ago. Hyenas denned there. Cave bears used it for hibernation. Human visits fluctuated and could be remarkably sparse. That is not a permanent home with occasional animals. It is an animal place receiving occasional human interruptions. Denisova Cave tells a similarly untidy story underground. Charcoal marks hominin activity in its long sediment sequence. But hyena coprolites appear through much of that history. In plain language, the neighbors kept using the bathroom. Take Chinaris Cave also preserves alternating occupants across more than 7,000 years of sediment. Short human visits repeatedly interrupted carnivore use there. Neither side needed to own the cave forever. They only needed it during the dangerous hours ahead. This changes the meaning of taking a cave. Victory might last one night, one storm, one season, rather than a 1,000-year lease. Then the group moved, and another tenant returned. Prehistoric ownership was not a deed, it was presence. Presence had to be announced, defended, and renewed. Before doing that, they needed one essential skill. They had to know who was already inside. The cave mouth is quiet. Quiet proves almost nothing. A hunting cat can sleep without making a sound. A hyena clan may be outside searching for food. A bear may be deeper than your torch can reach. So the first conversation happens with the ground. Fresh tracks keep sharp edges and soft mud. Depth also changes with weight, speed, and substrate. Old tracks crumble, overlap, or collect new dust. Direction matters. Did the paws enter or leave? Dung reveals species, diet, age, and recent activity. Fossilized droppings can expose repeated den use. A warm dropping is an extremely persuasive timestamp. Gnawed bones tell you who ate and how. Hyenas can crush shafts that other carnivores leave behind. Claw scratches can mark routes, resting spots, or conflict. Tufts of fur cling where bodies squeeze past stone. Flies may gather over meat hidden beyond sight. Smell arrives before evidence becomes visible. And scavengers circling outside can betray a carcass. Together, clues turn darkness into a probability map, not certainty. Probability is all survival usually offers. One clue says caution. Several matching clues say leave. This expertise could be taught without written language. A child watches where an elder pauses and sniffs. A gesture marks the difference between bear and hyena. A remembered story marks the cave that killed someone. Knowledge survives after the original witness does not. That makes memory a tool as real as stone. Predators read signs too: smoke, voices, and footprints. Every entrance becomes a message board for both sides. The safest group was not always the strongest one. Suppose the clues say the cave is temporarily empty. Where should they settle? Deep safety or bright entrance? The romantic answer is deep beside a roaring fire. The archaeological answer is often closer to the mouth. At Taichaneres, human hearths, stone tools, and butchered remains cluster near the entrance. Carnivore activity concentrated farther into sheltered darkness. That pattern may record different needs, not one battle. But the doorway offered humans several practical advantages. Daylight let eyes scan tracks, faces, approaching animals, and the stonework happening beside the hearth. Smoke could escape instead of filling the sleeping chamber. People could flee outward without crossing unknown darkness. And attackers had to pass through one narrow opening. A narrow opening converts speed into a traffic problem. Only the front animal can reach you at once. Several humans can aim weapons toward that same point. Thrown stones gain value when the target cannot dodge sideways. Noise also grows louder as stone reflects it back. A few bodies can sound like a much larger group. The doorway therefore becomes a prehistoric force multiplier. It does not make anyone invulnerable. A bear can still push through astonishing resistance. A cat can wait silently outside until hunger wins. Smoke can betray occupants from far across a valley. And a blocked doorway can become a blocked escape. So humans managed two borders, not just one. One border faced the landscape outside, the other faced whatever remained deeper underground. A hearth between them created a small, controlled island. Not the whole cave, just enough cave for tonight. That modest goal was easier to repeat and defend. Strength matters less if your rival is somewhere else. That obvious trick may explain many alternating occupations. Predators move with prey, water, mating, and seasons. Bears may leave dens after winter hibernation ends. Cats may abandon a kill site after meat disappears. Hyena clans patrol territories larger than one sleeping den. Humans also moved, rather than anchoring permanently underground. The cave could be one stop in a seasonal circuit. Arrive after fresh track stop, and conflict disappears. Leave before the owner returns, and victory remains cheap. This is not cowardice. It is scheduling, and seasonal absence can outperform a stronger spear. Scheduling saves calories, injuries, tools, and lives. A broken wrist could be more dangerous than retreat. An infected bite could turn one victory into a funeral. Even a dead predator leaves hungry scavengers nearby. The smartest battle is the one whose timing removes battle. Texanaris records short visits repeated over thousands of years. That rhythm resembles recurring access, not final conquest. At Rhenus, human presence also rose and fell. A cave could change users without a dramatic eviction. Wind, scent, and tracks quietly negotiated the handover. Fire ash then announced that humans held the next shift. Returning carnivores could smell that change before seeing it. Some would avoid the risk and choose another shelter. Others would investigate, especially when hungry or desperate. That is why timing could never work alone. Humans needed to make their temporary claim expensive. The next tool was frightening because it behaved alive. It ate wood, moved in wind, and bit back. Fire changes a cave before it changes a predator. Light expands the distance humans can see and coordinate. Heat protects fingers that must grip tools at dawn. Smoke drives insects away and advertises human presence. Flames can make an unfamiliar, moving visual barrier. Burning branches can extend that barrier in human hands. Yet wild predators are not programmed with one response. Hunger, experience, species, and distance all change behavior. A flame may discourage approach without guaranteeing retreat. Modern lions still hunt humans most dangerously at night. Low moonlight makes the risk especially severe. So light matters, but light does not cancel teeth. There is another problem. Using fire is not making fire. Natural fire could be captured, carried, and carefully maintained. Producing flame on demand requires a different technology. Evidence from Barnum and Suffolk suggests fire making around 400,000 years ago. Researchers distinguish that claim from older evidence of fire use, because deliberate ignition is harder to prove. That distinction prevents a convenient story becoming false certainty. At Valdocaros II in Spain, controlled fire appears around 245,000 years ago. Possible benefits include cooking, warmth, and defense. Inside caves, fire also creates costs humans must manage. Wood must be collected, dried, carried, and guarded. A dead hearth at midnight can reverse the power balance. Too much smoke can force humans toward the entrance. Too much light can reveal movement across the valley. Fire therefore works best as part of a system. It buys visibility, hesitation, warmth, and coordination time. Humans still have to use that purchase time. A lone sleeper beside flames remains a lone sleeper. One human is fragile. 6 humans are a moving problem. They can watch different directions at the same time. They can make noise while keeping weapons ready. They can throw, thrust, distract, and pull someone back. A predator must calculate injury, not merely hunger. For a wild hunter, a damaged eye can mean starvation. A punctured shoulder can end every chase that follows. That makes even crude weapons valuable before they strike. A straight branch increases reach beyond claws and teeth without asking the human body to grow either. A hardened tip concentrates force into a smaller point. A thrown stone attacks from beyond biting distance. Several stones arrive from directions one animal cannot track. Torches add motion, heat, smoke, and unfamiliar shape. Voices add the illusion of a larger body. The group becomes one creature assembled from many weak parts. But coordination depends on signals everyone understands quickly. A shout can mean wake, gather, throw, or retreat. Gesture works when smoke, fear, or distance swallows speech. Children can carry stones, elders can watch the dark. Defense becomes labor distributed across different bodies. That distribution is something a solitary cat cannot copy. Hyenas cooperate too, which makes them serious competitors and the conflict strategically symmetrical. They hunt socially, communicate, and return with clan support. This was not intelligence confronting mindless instinct. It was one social predator negotiating with another. Sometimes the negotiation ended with one side withdrawing. Sometimes it ended in injury, death, or lost shelter. Archaeology rarely preserves the shouting between those outcomes. It preserves ash, bones, tools, and damaged surfaces. From those remains, the human wall becomes visible again. Taking a cave is one problem. Sleeping there is another. Sleep removes speed, vision, coordination, and immediate judgment. Predators gain their greatest advantage when darkness hides approach. Modern evidence cannot recreate Pleistocene nights exactly, but hunter-gatherer sleep offers one useful comparison. Researchers monitored Hadza adults across 20 days of sleep in northern Tanzania. Everyone was simultaneously asleep for only 18 minutes total. The median moment had 8 people awake. Across 99.8% of sampled intervals, someone was awake or lightly sleeping. Nobody was formally assigned as a permanent night guard. Different body clocks created a sentinel-like pattern by accident. Age differences widened the overlap of waking hours. A restless child or nursing parent adds more interruption. The result is not perfect security, but fewer blind moments. A larger sleeping group produces more overlapping wakefulness. Inside a cave, small sounds can wake several people quickly. A cough, footstep, growl, or rolling stone becomes information. Firelight turns movement into shadows before faces become clear. A watcher does not need to defeat the animal alone. The watcher's first weapon is everyone else's name. Within seconds, sleeping bodies become the human wall again. This makes group size part of the shelter itself. The roof is stone, the alarm system is social. The door is not wood. It is coordinated attention. That system can fail when exhaustion synchronizes everyone. Illness, hunger, or cold can reduce the available watchers. A patient predator can wait for precisely that failure. So camps likely varied, and no rule worked every night. The point is not that predators ignored sleeping humans. The point is humans rarely slept as isolated targets. And even then, now imagine the old owner returning before dawn. She knows this entrance, every ledge, every escape route. Human smoke hangs where her pups once slept. From her perspective, the intruders are the humans. If she is alone, hesitation may settle the dispute. If her clan arrives, the arithmetic changes immediately. People can retreat deeper, but lose the outside exit. They can charge outward, but surrender the bottleneck. They can feed the fire if dry wood remains. They can throw food, perhaps buying a brief distraction. None of these choices guarantees a clean ending. Predator conflicts are not puzzles with one correct move. Species, numbers, hunger, terrain, and surprise all matter. That uncertainty is missing from many heroic survival stories. Fire and teamwork reduced risk. They did not delete it. Early hominin bones sometimes carry carnivore damage. Those marks remind us that humans entered predator food webs. The cave record also favors survivors and repeated use. A successful camp leaves ash, tools, and butchered bones. A frightened retreat may leave almost nothing recognizable. Absence of tragedy is not proof of perfect safety. This is where restraint improves the story, not weakens it. Humans want access often enough, not every encounter. They survived by preserving options before bravery became necessary. A second exit could matter more than a larger fire, because escape preserved the group's knowledge. A nearby tree or ledge could become emergency refuge. Cached wood prevented midnight searches beyond the doorway, and kept tired sentinels from exposing themselves. Sleeping near tools shortened the distance from fear to action. Preparation made retreat less likely and less costly. Then, one cave lion crossed the line into direct evidence. About 48,000 years ago, a cave lion died near Siegsdorf in southeastern Bavaria. Its skeleton eventually reached researchers at Siegsdorf. One rib carried an unusual circular puncture and internal damage. The pattern matched a wooden spear entering from below. Researchers interpreted it as evidence of a fatal thrust, not a thrown miracle from safely across the landscape, a close thrust where one mistake could end a hunter. This is the earliest direct evidence of hunting a large predator. The phrase direct evidence matters more than dramatic certainty. We know about the lesion, not the hunter's full motive. Was the lion attacking people, guarding prey, or targeted? The bone cannot answer which story happened around it, but it proves humans could reverse the usual danger. An animal capable of killing humans could itself be killed. That knowledge would change every later encounter. A predator sees bodies, humans also see precedent. Precedent turns panic into a sequence of practiced actions. Other evidence suggests lions became more than enemies. At Einhornhöhle, lion toe bones indicate skinning activity. They are at least 190,000 years old, far older than the lion killed near Siegsdorf. Researchers argue the pelt may have kept claws attached. A lion's skin carries warmth, difficulty, and social meaning. We should not invent a ceremony the evidence cannot show. Still, removing that skin required proximity and intention. The feared body became material humans could manipulate. This does not mean predators suddenly feared every person. It means the relationship could move in both directions. Caves were one stage where that reversal became visible. The owner could become the carcass, pelt, and warning. Yet even this victory did not create permanent ownership. The word caveman makes prehistory look permanently underground. That image survives because caves preserve evidence unusually well. Stone roofs shelter ash and bones from rain and erosion. Sediment can seal separate visits into readable layers. Open camps often disappear as wind, water, roots, and later land use erase their signatures. So archaeological visibility is not the same as daily preference. Many groups probably used rock shelters, trees, windbreaks, and tents. A cave could be smoky, damp, cramped, and full of parasites. Deep chambers remove daylight and complicate every ordinary task. Carrying fuel inward adds labor before warmth even begins. A single entrance can trap smoke, water, animals, or people. Good shelter depends on season, weather, location, and purpose. That's why short occupations make ecological sense. At Texaneras, repeated visits remained relatively brief rather than forming one thick, continuous domestic floor. At Ranis, people came and went among carnivore use. At Denisova, humans and hyenas both left persistent signatures. The pattern is not humans conquering darkness once. It is humans repeatedly solving a local shelter problem. Each solution starts fresh because conditions have changed. The bear may be gone, but hyenas moved in. The entrance may collapse after one hard winter. The prey herds may shift to another valley. The spring may dry, making shelter strategically useless. Mobile humans could abandon a bad address quickly. That flexibility is another advantage predators had to calculate. Humans were not defending one irreplaceable nest. They could choose terrain, timing, and number before returning. Mobility turned failed occupation into information, not extinction. The cave was useful precisely because it was optional. Return to the first cave and those 2 ivory fangs. The humans do not charge because courage demands it. They back away, carrying the meat and the information. Outside, they mark the route and gather the group. They watch tracks until the cat leaves to hunt. They return with dry wood, stones, and longer spears. First, they read the floor again, because yesterday expires. Then they occupy the entrance, not the deepest chamber. Smoke rises. Voices echo. Spear points face outward. The group leaves one path open for retreat. When darkness falls, sleep arrives in overlapping waves. The cat returns and studies a different kind of animal. Not stronger bodies, a stronger arrangement of bodies. The entrance now predicts injury instead of easy meat. Maybe it leaves. Maybe the humans leave first. Either way, survival does not require a cinematic kill. It requires enough controlled nights to raise another generation. The arithmetic of survival accumulates quietly. Enough remembered caves to avoid starting from zero. Enough shared warnings to outlive the person who learned them. That is what humans actually stole from predators. Not stone walls, not permanent darkness. Predictable space, a temporary bubble where children, sleep, and planning continued. They built that bubble from attention shared across minds. Tracks became warnings. Stories became maps. People became walls. Each conversion reduced uncertainty before muscle mattered. Fire strengthened the system without becoming the whole system. Weapons raised the cost without guaranteeing the outcome. Timing removed battles that strength might have lost. Mobility prevented one lost cave becoming the final cave. So who owned the cave? Whoever could hold the moment. Humans won because they learned to hold moments together across generations that never met.